one, and I know that one, and I know that one.
We love it.
So hopefully everybody will just feel very superior and not too frustrated.
I know what that is. So, but then the rest of your trip in New York after the jar experience, and you ventured through, it's a slow unfolding where you went from being nervous about going, and you just started giving yourself over to the whole shopping, makeover, perfume experience. Now, I've been a girly girl for a long time, been doing that forever. It was lovely to read about it and see you just like, it was perfect. And then as you left and you were hurrying on, going somewhere, we're going to get into the whole scarf a little later because I have to find out about that. Is there just like a moment where you're coming out of Barney's and heading to the subway where you just want to do the whole Mary Tyler Moore thing and, you know, throw your scarf up in the air with your beautiful makeup that you would never do to yourself and just twirl around a little bit and just feel completely like, I'm such a girl?
Yes. Yes, I think the final paragraph of that chapter is very much about that feeling. Yeah, and that's a really interesting way that you put the question, because I was actually telling someone about a year after all this happened. I was talking to some strangers, which is something I do all the time, in Eddie's de Venusta. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining to them, I don't remember how this came up. That's an interesting question. But anyway, I was explaining to them that I used to be afraid of New York, but then I had this experience with Perfume, and it made the city feel like a place where I was loved, and that I could just come and people would do these kind things for me and give me advice and give me free stuff and tell me where to go. And she said, oh, I know what you're talking about. She said, I call those my Mary Tyler Moore days.
Oh, see? It's like...
Exactly, yeah. You know exactly what that feeling was.
Yeah, it is. It's just that magic thing when you just feel fully in possession of all your femininity or something. So it's great. But then as you went through, because all of the book is building towards the wedding, except for the best part. I mean, I love the whole thing is that it's the bridal shower, because it has to do with perfume. I'm not going to give it away to anyone, but it is really from your amazing mother, who I'm just in love with now, and you know, and all the aunts and your friends, and they're kind of doubted about it, and then just through the whole bridal shower and how special and really unique it was. And I'm thinking every woman in the world needs something like that in their life, honestly. I mean, it was just so touching. I mean, did you think when you first brought up the whole how you wanted to do it that it was going to turn out?
I think we can say, since it's listed right in the table of contents.
Okay, well, I don't want to give away anything, so yeah.
The perfume shower.
Yeah.
So I did have a perfume-themed bridal shower. I had no idea what would happen. Mm-hmm. I was just grateful that I would like the presents I was going to get.
You're getting full bottles, for God's sake, for the first time, right? I mean, you've been in perfume forever, and you're getting bottles of perfume finally.
Any full bottles at all before then, and my mom thought it was kind of a crazy idea.
Yeah.
It was kind of a crazy idea, and I had to do a lot of finagling to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'll probably should do some writing about that as well, how to throw your own perfume shower. But no, I had no idea. And to me, that chapter really is the climax of the book, and that's partly why the wedding is chapter so short. Because I really wanted that to be clear. I wanted it to be clear that here is really the heart of the story for me, is that now I'm going to get all like...
Oh, no, I will do that.
But Perfume, like, as you were just saying, Perfume gave me this back door into that girly world and into that kind of femininity that I really didn't feel like I had access to. Mm-hmm. And that was a gift unto itself. But the real gift was that it allowed me to go home and to connect with my mother and with these ladies of her generation in a way that I just would never have been able to do. It became a way for us to connect with each other and a way for me to understand them much better. Gosh.
Yeah, don't even start.
I'll tell our audience that when you sent me the question, you asked me how I avoided weeping through the whole thing, and now you see that I don't.
You didn't.
I cry, and I keep right on talking. And yes, that day was so amazing. I mean, like most parties, it kind of happened in this big flash, and I was in the middle of it. And I was aware that something really special was happening. But it was the real gift of it was sort of in the aftermath when I realized what had happened, and I realized sort of how it had changed my relationship to my mother and to that whole group of ladies. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, because I think that in our generation we ran away from a lot of those traditional things, and I mean, do you think that sometimes we've run away from some of that? I've run away from cooking for that reason, because I just don't want to be traditional, so I don't cook. But that we're afraid to sometimes embrace those more frivolous things fully. Because, I mean, do you think it's because we're afraid that other people, that, you know, we've worked hard, we've made careers, we've become, you know, serious people, and that people just won't take us seriously anymore if we admit to them that, well, listen, I just snagged a bottle of vintage, you know, Chanel No. 5 the other day, and I am so jacked about that, and then we'll just lose all credibility completely.
Well, it sounds like those are some of your concerns.
Certainly. Well, not anymore.
So. I think it's probably a little bit different for everyone.
Yeah.
But do you think there are these things that were part of a very traditional, conservative kind of femininity that we probably associate with pre-feminist days? This, I mean, rightly or wrongly, this is sort of our fantasy of the 1950s housewife with her perfect hair and dinner on the table every night, and her perfume. You know, you can't. Some of that has been rehabilitated. So there's been this big movement to allow women to come back into the kitchen in a new way, and to allow men to cook and to think about food as something besides domestic drudgery. And I think about especially someone like Nigella Lawson in that way. I think that's one of the great services that she's done, is to sort of fun of that domestic goddess and give us a different way back into that stuff. Perfume and makeup are not so rehabilitated. I think perfume still, for most people, belongs on a beauty counter. And that the beauty counter is something that belongs to a very specific and narrow world. And they might avail themselves of it and feel fine going to it. But, you know, I just think it's something that there haven't been any new books or stories about in a long time. So we've been writing those stories ourselves, right, on blogs. And that was a big part for me of my journey, was seeing all these really smart women claiming this and talking about it in a way that I had never thought of before. And that allowed me to bring it into my own life. So hopefully this book is going to do part of that work as well. I just think we know we're in dangerous territory. It's part of what makes us crazy as brides, is that we run into all that really traditional stuff, all that constrictive underwear and all that.
Oh my God.
and these things that are sort of designed to prop us up and put in a certain role, and maybe we want to be in that role, and maybe we want to make it our own and perform it in a different way or borrow it for a while. But boy, it can be really tricky.
Yeah, there are a lot of tricky places to navigate in that. How frivolous do I really want to be? Well, and Perfume is different because it's not, I mean, we're not even frivolous about it. I mean, we have like this passion for it, except for people never understand it's not really for the perfume. It's for the scent and the experience and the emotion that comes from it. It's like it's almost narcotic in some ways because it can instantly transport you into some other place, time, feeling that you weren't a second before you smelled it, which I think the larger world maybe doesn't get that, and you kind of sound a little bit loony when you talk about
I think the larger world doesn't think much about smell in general.
Yeah.
Because smell is sort of the, Helen Keller calls it the fallen angel of the senses. It's the thing that we don't describe, that we don't have a language for, that we have only a private vocabulary for.
Yeah.
We all have smells inside our heads, but we don't necessarily know how they match up with other people's smells. So it's this very private, very internal thing that we don't talk about. So, sometimes I just said to this reporter who came to the house the other day, I said, look, you don't need perfume to go out in the world and enjoy smells. But perfume is the art form that humans made to play with smells and to think about them and to create with them. And it's really just that simple, except that people just haven't ever thought about it before, so it's not simple at all. We're in the beginning.
Yeah, and hopefully, I'll launch more into that direction and understanding it. So, but thinking back, and I know the book is so much about this, but in the summary part of it, the person you were before you started down this scented, perfumed rabbit hole, and the person you are today, how is that person different?
Oh gosh, Patty.
In 20 words or less. No, sorry. Go ahead. Take as long as you need.
I'm different in so many ways that I feel like it's going to take me a little while to really understand. I think the biggest way that I'm different is that I moved from doing academic intellectual work to doing creative work.
Yeah.
And that changed all kinds of things about how I relate to the world. I am much more interested in understanding and describing things than I am in critiquing or analyzing them or judging them. And just in general, I'm not really that interested in judgment anymore.
Yeah.
And I am much, much happier.
Oh, you look happy. You do. That's great. Well, I mean, it's because I think it's more of an for me, it was an emotional feeling more able to grab into those emotions just because you had to think about scent in some other way besides, oh, nice, pretty. So, yeah, it was good. But, well, before we go ahead and wrap up, and we can do this off, after we get done, but it's like that scarf that you had in New York City. Seriously, you need to get that and show it to me, and we can do this offline. I don't want to bore anybody with it, but it's like we'll just wrap up, and then you can get the scarf and show it to me, okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much for joining us here today, and I've loved talking. I always love talking to you anyway, so good luck, and I think the book is going to be a great success because it's really just a heartfelt, wonderful, quiet, journey of discovery, and I mean, it's the kind of story I think everybody would love to read. Even those guys out there that, may not think so. They could understand a woman just a little bit better if they read it, I think. So,
thank you so much, Patty.
Well, thank you, and best of luck. Okay.